Okay, so I went ahead and got a trial membership to razkids.com so that I could show you how you can do your running records through the website after your students have recorded their reading. I went ahead and put my own son on the register, on my roster, and had him read a passage so that I could show you how to do a running record online. Now I've practiced a little bit here, and he went ahead and did another one for me. So I will show you how you can, if I click on this, you can see that he's already gotten a 5 out of 5 on the quiz, and the computer does that for you. The software is able to score the quiz, but then you have to go in after the fact, after your students have recorded their readings, and assess their reading, their fluency, and the retelling. So when I click on his passage, it comes up, takes a few seconds, and then you can see it says step 1, score this running record. And this is the passage that he read, and then up here is the recording that shows. I can press play, and then it'll play a recording of him reading, and I can keep track of his errors such as omissions, insertions, mispronunciations, substitutions, repetitions, and there's also one for self-corrections. I don't know why that's not listed over here, but at this point you can see that he read for 1 minute and 56 seconds. He read 91 words per minute, and then the error rate and self-corrections and all that, and accuracy, overall accuracy, will be scored after I listen to him read and mark his errors. So if I press play, you should hear.
I have a micro bit more business to finish before I can talk to you, said Mr. Simon as his son.
Okay, so here he self-corrected. He said he son instead of his son, so I marked that as a self-correction.
Before I can talk to you, said Mr. Simon as his son. Eric stood in the kitchen doorway waiting. Why don't you call a friend and chat until I'm done? Eric sighed and returned to his sleeping cubicle. His father had been talking with a coworker via his super contact.
Okay, so that was a mispronunciation, and he said super instead of superior, so I mark that.
Super contact phone for hours, and Eric knew it would be even.
Okay, so here he did a repetition of be even, so I have to mark it separately.
Had been talking with a coworker via.
It backs up a little bit.
Contact phone for hours, and Eric knew it would be even more hours before he finished. Superior contact phones were tiny ear mounted.
Okay, so he repeated ear mounted.
Contact phones were tiny ear mounted contraptions that captured energy from body heat. They connected everyone on the planet Marva with one another, allowing people to be in touch at every moment of the day.
Here he substituted the day instead of every day.
Every moment of the day. The adults were addicted to the phone for work and socializing.
Okay, you notice he omitted so addicted, so I mark that.
To the phone for work and socializing. They never left home. Eric and his friends had grown tired of them, however, and sometimes they actually went outside and visited face to face. Suddenly, his father bellowed, "My phone's not working! This is barbaric and uncivilized."
Okay, so here he repeated this is.
Not
It's kind of a
working.
self-correction, but he repeated it to do a self-correction, so it's hard to say which it was.
Suddenly, his father bellowed, "My phone's not working! This is barbaric and uncivilized." A grinning Eric hurried to the kitchen and said, "That's great, Dad. Let's go out for a change."
Okay, here what would we call that? He said out instead of outside, so we call that a substitution.
"That's great, Dad. Let's go out for a change."
Okay, so he's finished the passage, and now you can see that it has scored him with word count per minute 89, error rate 144, self-corrections 1, self-correction rate 1 to 5, accuracy 98%. There's more detail you can find out about that and how to interpret that, but you can then send a message to the student or a note to yourself, and I'm going to skip that part right now. But if you did send a message to the student, then they'd be able to see, any kind of encouragement or suggestions that you made to them on the test. And then you can click to save and go to retelling, and then I'll be able to hear his retelling. It gives me a rubric, and I can see over here that I give a 0 if it's inaccurate or not included, 1 for fragmentary or sketchy, 2 for partial, or 3 for complete. So when I listen to his retelling, I'll be listening for the sequence, characters, setting, problem, resolution, and level of prompting. And I'll score him on each of those categories. So here is his retelling, I mean.
This was about a boy and a dad who have not been outside for a long time, and the boy wants to go outside.
Okay, so the sequence. Did the student describe what happened in the proper order? Well, he focused on the boy and wanting to go outside, but he didn't give any of the earlier events of the story, indicating why the boy wanted to go outside or why they hadn't been outside. So he basically didn't really set up the sequence much at all. So I'm going to say fragmentary. Characters. Did the student tell who the main characters are and why they are the most important? I would say probably a 2 on that. He did focus on the characters quite a bit, but as far as why they were important, not so much. Setting, did the student describe where the story takes place? No, not really, not at all. Problem, did the story tell the problem in the story? Well, it doesn't really talk about the addiction of the adults to their communication devices. It's more about the kid wanting to go outside. So I would again call that probably fragmentary or sketchy at best. Resolution. Did the student tell how the problem in the story is solved and how the story ends? I'd have to listen to it again to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that he didn't say much about how the story ends, except for getting to go outside. Level of prompting would be 0 because there would be no, I didn't give him any prompting while he was answering those questions, obviously. So obviously this is a weakness, and he scored in the developing range in his points. So then at this point, save and go to quiz, and it shows me the answers to his quiz questions, and that has already been scored. So he obviously got more out of reading the story than he did in his retelling. And so then you can click finished, and it puts it in the teacher's basket. And at that point, the teacher can decide whether level U is appropriate or whether maybe he needs to go back a little bit. In my opinion, he would need to go back and maybe work on retelling. And so maybe this level's a little bit high for him, but overall, that gives me an idea of what his level should be. So then you can go to Manage Students, and then at this point I can have him, it's not coming up, but I can put him into an assignment and a certain level of assignments that are appropriate for him. So I'm going to back out of this right now, and I'm going to stop this video for right now. But there's a lot to this site, and this shows you just how you can use it to score your students individually and figure out what's best for them instructionally.